So I just flew back in from London last week, and I haven't been there since 2018, but I did notice how crazy expensive everything was. I mean, you couldn't buy a cup of coffee for less than £3, and you couldn't go out for dinner for two people for less than 100. The inflation is bad, right? The economy is worse, and I'm pretty sure we're headed into a global recession if we're not in one already. So with that all being said, it's now really a good time to be starting a business. Hey, what's up guys, Neve here, and in this video, hopefully I'll be able to give you some actionable information that I wish I had back when I was starting. And if you are thinking about starting a business, hopefully by the end of this video, if you stay to the end, you'll have a really good idea of not only if you should, but maybe some of the good options for you right now. And there's a few things I think you should have in place before you start a business. One, do you have a stable job? And this is one that in the past, when I was younger, I would have said, you know what, quit your job, even if you do have a job, put 100% into the business and see it grow. And while that probably is more likely to see success that way, I think that my opinions have changed a lot since then. I think that having a job is actually a really good thing, especially when you're starting a business. Not because you can fall back on something if it fails, but because it gives you a way to fund your goals and your dreams. Instead of spending that few $100s that maybe you have at the end of the month on Starbucks or other crap that you might be spending it on, save it and invest it in yourself. And obviously setting aside that few $100s can actually add up to a lot in just a little while. The second question is, do you have any savings? If you don't have any savings and you're using your last money to start a business, trust me, you're gonna have a lot of sleepless nights. Follow the advice of many people online and have 3 to 6 months saved up in cash, the rainy day fund in case things go wrong. And number 3 is, how much time will you realistically be able to spend on this business? Because if you have a full-time job, if you have kids, a wife and family and responsibilities, it can be very hard to make the time to, actually work on the business. But the truth is, I think that not having time is an excuse. No matter what, you have the same amount of time as everybody else, even with responsibilities, even with kids, even with anything else you may have. It's about making the time. So rather than asking, do you have the time? Are you willing to make the time to start the business? And if you are, well, then number 3 is a check. So now, assuming you answered all those questions correctly and you have all those checked, you may be in a good position to start a business, but should you start a business, especially during a recession? So to answer that question, you obviously need to look at what other options and what other investments you can make during a recession with, the money that you have. So the first one I wrote down here is you can do nothing, keep doing what you're doing, kind of keep it in the bank. And the obvious consequences of that is that inflation will eat away at your savings and your buying power, which realistically isn't 9% a year if you're in the US, but upwards of 20%. And that's, if you know anything about how they calculate that stuff, it's all 9% is a load of crap, right? It's way, way, way more than that, probably around 20%. So that's your first option. The second option is invest your money in stocks, real estate, and hope that they will go up. So realistically, they won't go up. Realistically, they will go down because we're already in such an inflated market where all the real estate prices and stocks and all that stuff, are now going to be going lower and lower and lower. The third option is crypto. And, we all know about crypto, right? I'm sure it's a very good investment sometimes, especially if you do it just buy and hold strategy for a long time, it can be. But, who knows when the crypto is going to, go back up. I don't think realistically it'll be there anytime soon. I think it will actually, again, like stocks and real estate, it will continue to go down. Number 4 is starting a business. Obviously, there's many problems with that as well, which we'll go over in a little bit. And then number 5, which is like other or miscellaneous stuff. For example, maybe someone recently emailed you, like a Nigerian prince, saying that he can make you more money if you send him money, he'll 100 times your money. So, maybe that's another option for, where to put your money. But basically, those are realistically the only options that I know about, and that I think most people would be, able to, things that most people would be able to do. And in my opinion, figuring out the best place to put your money or the best thing to do with your money is finding out which things have the most leverage, So for example, something that you can put a little bit in and get a lot back. So like as an example, jobs don't really have much leverage. 9 to 5, you go into work, you work your hours and you get your money. The only really way you get paid more is by working more hours, getting paid more, or getting, a promotion or something like that. So really not that much leverage at all. That's why many successful people who work, corporate jobs and stuff like that, they make most of their money from, stock options and stuff like that, where when the stock goes up, they make a lot more money. And on that same point, I saw this video recently about Steve Ballmer, who was the CEO of Microsoft. And, he apparently, by what this video said, he was the richest, or he was the only billionaire that worked a 9 to 5 job to get there. Like he didn't actually start the company or found it or whatever. He was just a CEO. And the way he did it was through working his 9 to 5 job as a CEO and then getting stock options, which then, increased when Microsoft's value increased and he became a billionaire that way. So obviously, he got a lot of bonuses, stuff like that. And that was the leverage he needed to get very, very wealthy. So the point is, if you can put in a small amount of money and get a big amount of money back, that's obviously the best thing you can do. That's the highest leverage event. So Worst case scenario, you lose, $2, $3, $5,000. Best case scenario, you make, hundreds of $1,000s or whatever. Whereas, if you're doing investments, maybe you get, 8% a year on like a good year. If you do real estate, maybe, you get a, 10%, 15% on a really good year as well. But, you're not going to be able to turn, let's say $5,000 into, $5,000 a month. And that's only done in, certain ways, which we'll talk about, which, is starting a business. But let's assume you did crypto, right? Crypto does have high volatility. So yeah, you can put $5,000 in and then get some money back. But realistically now crypto's at like, at the point of filming this video, it's 20,000. So let's assume you get, 3 Bitcoins. You have 60,000, or let's say you buy $50,000 worth of crypto, of Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. Let's say the market explodes back to where it was before, so you'll triple your money. So, okay, that's great. You tripled your money, made 50,000 to 150,000. But how much risk did you put up in case Bitcoin went down even further? Or, if it goes up to 150,000, that's a 3x increase. Then okay, that's really great. You made $150,000, or you made $100,000 in profit. But that's really not going to change most people's lives that much. And in the first place, you need to have $50,000 to risk, to invest, to make that $150,000. If you only put, let's say, $5,000 in, okay, you made 10 grand. Okay, 10 grand is cool, but it's not really going to change your life at all. So yes, more leverage than, traditional stocks, but also much, much more risk. So now we get down to the beauty of starting a business, the giant amount of leverage that you have. Because the leverage is not created by the money you invest necessarily, it's created by the amount of work you have to put into it. With work, you can turn a small investment into a big amount of money that cash flows every single month and also builds an asset. So not only are you building a cash flow business that pays you out every month, if you do it right, you also will have an asset which later on, if you do decide, you can sell. I personally started back in 2017 with an Amazon FBA business, and I turned, 2,500 USD into like $10,000 per month profit. It was a $30,000 per month business, profiting $10,000 per month, and also building asset value there as well for the actual business in case you want to sell it as well. And I did that and documented that on the channel in 3 or 4 months. Obviously, that's not like a common thing that happens. That's obviously not an easy feat to accomplish, but it is possible. So generally speaking, if you're not afraid of a little hard work, starting a business is usually a very, very good idea. And I can already hear people on the other side of the screen saying, hey, starting a business during a recession is, very risky. There's, it's hard to start a business during a recession. It may not be the right time. And to that, I say the same thing I learned from Alex Hormozi. He said, basically, if you can start and succeed during, the bad economic times, then when economic times turn around and they start becoming good, which they always will in a few years, then you will do really, really well. Whereas if you start in good times and then bad times come, you may not be able to survive. So I think something like 50% of the top 500 companies or something like that have been started during a recession or depression. And I think that just because we're in a recession now, if you're willing, like I said, to do a little hard work on your side, it's still the best opportunity to start a business. With that being said, there's even more things to consider, right? What kind of business do you start? Online or offline? I think if you're watching this online, you probably know the right answer to that is that, online businesses nowadays and going into the future, it's basically the floodgates have opened and it's like the internet gold rush. Starting an online business is the best thing you can do for yourself right now. I'm not trying to downplay the possibility of having an offline business like a real world business, but usually they have a lot more costs involved in them, a lot more risk, and overall, you can stay a lot more lean with, an online business, meaning you don't need that many employees. You can usually do a lot of the stuff yourself and, leverage, again, lots of online procedures rather than having staff and employees and stuff like that. So online is really the way to go. Now, that leaves you with, the most common online businesses. That being, a service-based business, a software-based business, or e-commerce-based business, which means just selling stuff, physical products online. Let's start off with the service-based business, which might be the best if you have a very, very small budget. Something like social media marketing is very popular, but because of the fact that it doesn't cost that much money to get into it, there's a ton of competition. So many people are doing this, and you really have to go out and try to woo clients and customers and always have people to answer to. It's also hard to scale because the more clients you get, the more work you'll have, and the more people you have to answer to. And overall, it just bloats very quickly with a social media marketing agency and really any service-based industry online. There's also the software-based route, which is probably actually the most profitable one out there, but it requires a ton of money to invest. It usually also requires some sort of crowdfunding or some sort of investments to get it started, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and like a whole team of software engineers to help build that. So that's probably not the best for a beginner to start a software industry. or software company online. But it also has recurring revenue, which is most of the time really, really nice to have to be able to grow and scale a company, and has really good, asset value later on because of the monthly recurring revenue. You can sell it for more money later on. Then there's e-com based businesses, which is just e-commerce, selling physical products online. And with that, it's, in the middle of the two in terms of investment. Not as cheap as service-based, but also not nearly as expensive as the software company. You need maybe $3,500 to $5,000 to invest into all the different things you're going to need to start it, including the actual inventory of the product. So software company needs too much to invest. Service-based business, a lot of the times the businesses don't have enough money to pay you. They're just trying to keep the doors open. So it's very, very hard to get customers and clients, and you're competing with tons of people, again, because of the low barriers to entry. But then we come to the issue with e-com, which is if you start your own store on your own website, well, no one knows who you are, no one knows your product, no one trusts you, and no one's really going to buy it because you have no customers. How are people supposed to know to go to your website when they don't even know what your company is, what your products is? You're going to have to spend a lot of money on advertising. If you don't know how to advertise, well, you can see how this, there's a lot of problems that can arise. So that being said, the hardest part of any business, even the service-based everything, is to have customers, right? To get customers through the door and to buy your products, which is why personally what I do is I do Amazon FBA business, which means that I sell my products on Amazon. They have the customers, they have the loyalty of the customers. A ton of people have Prime, and they're all already there on Amazon searching up different types of products. And you probably do this all the time yourself. You probably, if you're watching this video, have an Amazon Prime membership subscription, and you probably buy stuff on Amazon all the time because Amazon is like 50% of all e-commerce sales, I think, in the US or some North America, something like that. It's absolutely crazy. So if you can find something that people actually want to buy, people are searching up, well, then you can make, a very good amount of money. Of course, again, that's easier said than done, but the customers are already there searching for products. You just need to put your product in front of the customers. Of course, there's a ton of nuances to that as well. I'm not trying to say it's super easy or simple, but during the recession, you have to solve the hardest problem, which is getting the customers. Customers need to be finding your stuff. And if the customer's already there, it makes it much, much easier. And that's why in 2022 and beyond, during these economic times, during the recession, I'd really recommend, if you're starting any business, to start an e-commerce Amazon FBA business. And as a tip, if you do decide to go down this road, remember that during a recession, people generally only buy stuff that they need, right? They're probably not going to go out and buy brand new headphones all the time like they did before, but they're going to buy stuff that, generally solves a problem for them. For example, if someone has severe back pain, they're going to pay money for a back brace, no matter if it's during a recession or not. Most people will buy that back brace because they need it to solve their problem. So if you can find products that solve problems for people, it doesn't matter what the economic times are like, and then in a few years when things turn around, you will really be able to soar. Now, obviously, if you're still watching this video and you're new to all this stuff, online business, etc., you probably have hundreds of questions about, different businesses and how to start an Amazon business and, where to source the products, which products are good, all that kind of stuff. So what I did is I put a link to a playlist down below this video, going through like a bunch of different stuff, kind of the starter journey for Amazon FBA. The whole channel here is also about Amazon FBA, so if you want to learn more about it, subscribe to the channel and watch some of the old videos here too. But start off with the link in the description. And if you have any questions that you want to ask me about, anything here, leave a comment down below. I'll answer every single person. And I hope this helped you. I hope this opened some eyes. I hope this answered some questions. And I'll see you guys in the next one.